Coming up on AgweekTV, how the ethanol industry is helping farmers make more money while protecting the environment. The USDA is sending hundreds of millions of dollars to rural America to promote development. Our AgWeek corn and soybean tour continues this week with stops in Iowa and North Dakota. And more fresh local food is being served to area students thanks to a farm-to-school program. Welcome to AgweekTV. I'm Emily Beal. The ethanol industry's desire to crack low-carbon fuel market is creating new opportunities for farmers. As Jeff Beach reports in this week's AgWeek cover story, producers can get paid to change the way they grow corn.
I was really passionate about corn way before I was ethanol.
Ron Alverson is retired from growing corn, but his work as an ethanol advocate continues. He helped start the South Dakota Corn Growers Association in 1987 and became an ethanol promoter when plants started opening around the region in the 1990s. He says the ethanol industry's desire to crack low-carbon fuel markets can be profitable for farmers while they care for their land and the planet by reducing and sequestering carbon.
In the last couple of years especially, we've really transitioned from maybe a BTU producing industry to a one that has to be a low-carbon BTU producing industry.
Alverson was recognized recently by the American Coalition for Ethanol at its conference in Minneapolis for his leadership in helping growers reduce their carbon output while maintaining profitability. In fact, it could pay. Alverson's part of a 5-year study to pay some South Dakota corn growers to adopt practices that will lower their carbon intensity scores. Coalition CEO Brian Jennings says it's the new focus of the ethanol industry.
There's serious money to be made with these climate smart practices if we get the modeling right and we get the markets stood up.
Alverson says he understands there's resistance to carbon pipelines, but he says they're an important part of the industry's goal to reduce carbon.
Society is willing to pay farmers to do low carbon practices for the good of the planet and to reduce CO2 atmospheric concentration. It's worthwhile for our society to do that.
In Minneapolis, Minnesota, this is Jeff Beach for AgWeek.
You can read more in the next AgWeek magazine or at agweek.com. U.S. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack came to Minnesota this week with a big gift for rural development. Vilsack announced $800 million in grants for several different programs. A big goal is to increase the security of the food supply chain, especially for rural areas. During a roundtable with producers and businesses, Vilsack highlighted 41 new investments across programs designed to support a wide range of ag interests.
We did roughly 80 organizations across the country who serve underserved producers who may not have the sophistication to know about programs or how to apply for them, but there are groups that do. So we funded those groups to expand our outreach.
Minnesota Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith also took part in the roundtable. More and more students around the region are returning to school meals that include fresh local food. The Farm to School program helps those who run school nutrition programs incorporate local foods. But one man who's part of the program says it's much more than healthy food.
I'd always been passionate about our food system since taking a sociology class in college.
Bjorn Solberg grew up on a farm near Fargo, North Dakota, then got a teaching degree in college. So when he got involved in the Farm to School program, both worlds came together for him. Solberg had been wanting to get back to his farm roots when he bought Hughes Gardens in Halstead, Minnesota in 2019. The business distributes certified organic potatoes. A big part of his business has become supplying schools under this government school lunch program.
School is allocating its funds that it would typically go towards a wholesale distributor for their food, but reallocating it towards local producers to support them.
Solberg sells to a growing number of schools around the region, but he says there's much more to the program than simply supplying fresh, healthy local produce. He spends time in schools teaching kids about where their food comes from.
It's also providing a hands-on, more experiential learning opportunity for kids. So I've been able to do a few classroom visits throughout the last couple of years and also visiting lunchrooms. And so really it's a lot of different things go into the Farm to School program.
In addition to nutrition, Solberg hopes kids get another benefit from the Farm to School program, that learning about farming might lead them to careers in ag.
So I never thought I would be in agriculture, but finding an opportunity like this kind of opened my eyes to the fact that there's many things that you don't know out there and opportunities that you just need to hear about or be exposed to.
Solberg also helped found the Red River Harvest Cooperative, which helps people in schools order local food from producers. It's hosting an on-farm event on September 10th. For more information, go to the website on your screen. Farmers, ranchers, agriculturalists, and others will soon be making the trek to West Fargo, North Dakota for the Big Iron Farm Show. Big Iron features more than 400 companies, 700 booths, educational talks about hot-button topics in agriculture, and some impressive entertainment.
Every year we try to think of ways to make Big Iron a little better, some improvements here or there, and one idea we came up with was having a concert at the grandstand. So this year, Wednesday, September 13th, will be Rodney Atkins with opener Zach Thomas, starting at 6 p.m.
Entry into the Big Iron Farm Show as well as the concert will be free of charge. Coming up on AgweekTV, we'll take a look at the corn crop in southeastern North Dakota. Seriously?
The story of a farm is the story of a family. From generations past to generations to come, families have raised their children on the crops that sustain our country on the same fields. Today, with a better nitrogen, farmers can continue to take care of what matters most, the land they work and the people they do it with.
Why I ultimately choose them is they handled everything from the site prep, the dirt work, the gravel. The electricians were all excellent, and they're very knowledgeable in the dryer setups themselves. They made sure that they designed me a system that was expandable years into the future. It was a long-term encompassing project, and that's what I appreciate about their knowledge. I'm Ethan Hansen from Blanchard, North Dakota, and I would definitely recommend Advanced Grain for all your grain storage handling needs.
We farm corn and soybeans here in the Red River Valley, just south of Castleton and the Leonard area. So we have from some loamy ground, mostly heavy Fargo clays are pretty much what we have. We have some drain tile. Calcine's helped us a lot with that, flush out salts.
And what led you wanting to use calcine in your operation?
He brought me onto the product and told me about it, so I said, well, let's give it a trial, tell me what it does. And we trialed it, and it worked very well in some salty spots. And so now we use it on the whole farm.
And so when you're standing in your acres, how has your soil's health changed since using this product?
Our salt levels are definitely low, both in the soil and particularly on tissue tests in corn, that the salt level is very low in the plant.
Thank you to our sponsors: Butler Machinery, North Dakota Corn Council, North Dakota Soybean Council, Bremer Bank, Peterson Farm Seed, Crary Ag, and Farmers Mutual of Nebraska.
Our AgWeek corn and soybean tour continues this week. I traveled to Richland County, North Dakota, and visited with Jade Albright, Peterson Farm Seed sales agronomist, to take a look at the corn crop. Jade, tell me about the cornfield we have standing behind us.
Yeah, so this field here, we're on some extremely sandy soils here, and single-digit CECs, and we just manage moisture here a little differently than we do the rest of the area. So we no-tilled the corn May 15th here, variable rate of the population everywhere from 17 to 32,000, depending where we're out here. And then we put our earliest drought guard hybrid on this piece too, just to kind of handle moisture a little bit better.
As we head into harvest months, are you worried about moisture content?
Yeah, especially you go further south into Richland County. There's, like I said, this field here is probably sitting around 8 inches. There's guys that have had a little bit more. There's definitely guys that have had less. Some guys they planted and then had 1.5 inches of rainfall till tassel time. So we're starting to see a lot of stock cannibalization, a lot of corn starting to burn up. We've had issues, been in some corn that the butts didn't pollinate, tips didn't pollinate, they're pulling back, they're aborting kernels.
Any disease or pest pressures you guys have been seeing?
Yep, yeah, especially the further south you go, rootworm's starting to become a problem down there. Yeah, a lot of northern rootworm they're chewing roots all year, and some corn starting to lodge. Disease-wise, there's some Goss's wilt showing up on some corn on corn acres. And like I said, yeah, some stock rots are starting to show up, some anthracnose and issues like that. We'll see here going forward in the next couple weeks.
What are your harvest projections? When do you think you'll get the combines rolling in this field, and what are your yield projections?
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some corn coming off before soybeans, but probably first, second week in October we could see some corn coming. There'll be spots out here that are, 200 bushel, but there'll also be spots that are 100, and kind of the same thing. You go south, it's really variable. It'll be all over the board, and it just kind of depends on which guy fell under the right rain cloud at the right time.
Well, harvest season will be here before we know it. Thank you for joining us, Jade.
Thank you.
Jade Albright. Our corn and soybean tour now takes us to Northwest Iowa. After a rough start to the growing season for Iowa's corn and soybean crops and spotty showers throughout the summer, crops are starting to be stressed.
Disease and pest pressure are starting to affect the soybeans and corn around Lamar's, Iowa.
Now we're really starting to see it out in our soybeans and a little bit in our corn as well. Mostly I'm seeing it in our soybeans right now. We're seeing some white mold, a lot of brown stem rot, even some phytophthora in areas, and wasn't there the times that we were out there spraying insecticide and fungicide, but it's definitely out there now.
Pests have also proven to be a problem this year. Grasshoppers have been a big issue, but there are also pests that many producers might not be aware of.
One really big one right now in Northwest Iowa is soybean gall midge, and a lot of growers might have it out in their fields but not know. So it can look a lot like a disease out in a field. We have brown spots usually along the field edges, but not always, and they're starting to droop and wilt and die, and sometimes it is the soybean gall midge.
For some producers in the area, the crops are already starting to come out of the fields.
We already have some growers in Northwest Iowa that are out chopping silage, so field work has begun, but just like last growing season, I think harvest will start a lot sooner this year, just because these crops are running out of moisture and beginning to dry.
Ted Nepal encourages all growers to get out in their fields and scout, even as we get toward the end of the growing year. Ahead on AgweekTV, we'll look at a solution to drainage and aeration problems.
Our environment affects us all. It guides how we use our land, what we grow, and where we call home. For decades, we've equipped our clients with comprehensive environmental solutions and confidence to build their projects. Our team of environmental specialists are experts in navigating complex regulatory environments and finding solutions to build a sustainable future for everyone. More engineering, improving lives by building strong communities.
It was October 1st, 2009. We needed some machinery for the farm. We decided to see if we could become a dealer, and that's kind of grown into what it's been today.
We offer basically anything short line. Seed tenders, fertilizer spreaders, sprayers. We can really set ourselves apart by the knowledge we have in those things, by the amount of units we have on hand at all times.
I just have a passion for helping people, getting to know people. It just becomes a lot of fun.
The simplicity, I mean, it's a complicated planter, but it's also simple. That row meter is just very simple, and it just seems to work. I liked it just having that tube delivering the seed with an airstream and not having to have extra belts on it or extra electric motors and stuff. A lot of this machinery seems like it's almost getting overly complicated. The simpler that it can work, but do what it's supposed to do, I think this machine can definitely do that.
There's no easy button, no guarantees, or promises of a good year. This is farming. It's unpredictable and demanding, with long days and sometimes stressful nights. It's weathering the storms and coming out successful. Farming isn't for everyone. We thank those who make it their life, because it is for everyone.
Getting down to business on the farm means hitting the office early, making sure your team's ready to go, getting updates from the field, and talking with your management team. At Bremer Bank, we understand the business of farming and how to protect and grow your operation, so you can be sure your present and your future are in good hands.
AgWeek weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
Will the region have favorable weather for Labor Day weekend? Here's John with our AgriWeather Outlook.
As the calendar turns on in through September, we're still dealing with what I would call at this point a row crop drought. And by that, what I mean is that all this heat in late August and the continued warmer than average weather into at least the early part of September is creating much more evaporation than is average. And the corn and the beans and other row crops, there's still plenty of time before harvest time for them to get an extra drink, and they could use the water. All right. Warm start to the fall and the month of September, although I do anticipate some change to this around the middle of the month of September, which would be toward the end of this 2-week outlook. Let's start out by looking at the weather patterns. Jet stream has, you'll notice the big feature is the ridging in the center of the country. Some of this is some very hot weather, and that will gradually subside southward as we go through the week, but it's going to remain fairly warm. There'll be a little bit of a cool down in the northern plains early to midweek, but it will not be much of a cool down, as warm temperatures as in 80s will likely build back into North Dakota, Minnesota. Most of the mid sections of the country will remain quite hot, and we're finally getting a little bit of warm weather into the northeast. There are some cool temperatures dropping down through the spine of the Canadian Rockies, and it continues to be very cold up around Hudson Bay. And we're getting some occasional cold weather up into parts of Alaska and the Yukon. That is likely as we head toward the second week of this forecast. That cold weather up north will begin to expand, which it typically does at the end of August and the start of September. Meanwhile, the weather pattern will likely remain mostly quite warm in the middle, with surges of pretty warm temperatures coming up into the nation's midsection. However, toward the end of the period here, and by that I'm talking about the middle of September, I am anticipating a bit of a switch toward troughiness, and that would bring at least an end to the warm weather pattern for the north and maybe bring down some cool weather. But as this is at the end of the 2-week period, I'm really hesitant to predict that this will be the start of a flip or a switch to a colder weather regime. Frankly, I doubt it. I suspect this is more of just either a temporary adjustment or a modest longer-term adjustment, not like a big switch to cold weather. About as far as precipitation goes, not much for the middle this week. That dome of high pressure still basically in charge. There will be some tropical moisture at times coming up through the mid-south. Many areas up around Hudson Bay are not only cool but quite wet, and there will likely be areas of rain and snow in the far northwest. California mostly dry. Not a lot of switch to the second week of the pattern. Still the midsection of the country for the most part, mostly just warm and dry.
My name is Carson, and I'm a 4th-generation corn farmer. The corn that's grown in North Dakota, you could probably trace all over the world. Back growing up, it was always hauled to the local elevator, and now we haul directly to an ethanol plant who processes that corn into a clean burning fuel. The North Dakota ethanol industry uses over 150 million bushels of corn and returns $640 million to the state economy.
When it comes to grain storage and handling solutions, one call does it all. Gateway Building Systems is one of the largest Brock bin dealers in the U.S. Our expert team is dedicated to creating a customized plan for your future success. Expanding your operation has never been easier with our range of Brock solid bins, grain dryers, conveyors, and more. As your trusted partner, we are committed to serving the needs of farmers. Take the first step toward success and call Gateway Building Systems today.
Prairie welcomes you back for the second annual Full Pot event. Join us with the Millennial Farmer, Ryan of Ryan's Farming Videos, Larson Farms, and Tony Fast at Fast Ag Montana.
Come see me, Tony Fast, in Fargo, North Dakota at the Prairie's Full Pod event, November 30th. For details, go to prairie.com/fullpod.
Don't miss Prairie's Full Pod event, Thursday, November 30th at the Fargo Holiday Inn. Get your tickets today at prairie.com/fullpod.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Get a jump on next season's crop. Before you put your planter away after the planting season, bring it to the experts at Titan Machinery for a full inspection. Titan Machinery service technicians have the experience and training to inspect your Case IH planter and get it in optimal condition for next season. Get a head start on next season and get the peace of mind that your planter is ready when you store it for the winter. Contact the planter experts at your local Titan Machinery Case IH dealership today.
Leaving stockpiles without a drainage system or an aeration platform can greatly cut into producers' profits. I met with Troy Emery, president and co-owner of RTD Enterprises, to discuss how their product, the whip drain, can help alleviate potential loss.
When we developed it for aggregates and frac sand mainly, and we've realized that we can really help sugar beets. I think we can help soybeans.
In 2017, RTD Enterprises developed the whip drain. The whip drain is a drainage and aeration platform for many kinds of stockpiles, from sands and aggregates to sugar beets and potatoes.
We can drain the water away from the product, and we can also force air into the platform and aerate the whole bottom of it.
With the whip drain, you don't have to worry about driving machinery over the platform. The stockpile also won't crush the platform, leaving you with peace of mind.
We've designed it so you can operate 988 cat loaders. I think they weigh about 140,000 pounds, and then with a full bucket and the torsional loading, whip drain is engineered to withstand that type of treatment.
At the end of the day, the whip drain can greatly help producers' bottom line, making their operation more efficient despite unpredictable weather.
The way we see it is three things that we can help with, and it all goes down to you're not going to be shut down during rain days, and you're not going to have the spoils any longer because you can get the water away from the bottom of the pile. And we also believe that we can control the aeration, or the co-ops can control the aeration and control the moisture and content and freezing of the pile much better, more efficiently than they can now. We believe we can help all types of commodities, all types of agriculture, whether it's soybeans or corn or grain. Anything that's stockpiled, anything that needs drainage and or air, we can help with that. We know for a fact we can.
RTD Enterprises will be attending the Big Iron Farm Show in September and encourages those interested to stop by their booth and see all that the whip drain has to offer.
We look forward to seeing you at the Big Iron Show. Please stop by our booth.
RTD Enterprises' Big Iron booth number is 3005 and located near the Beer and Garden and Chevy Ride and Drive. Up next on AgweekTV, some flower fans take the sky to pick their favorite blossoms.
Risk management is not just for the grains. Livestock producers, did you know you too can protect the price for your production? Livestock Risk Protection, or LRP for short, is a great tool to help you protect the price of your calves. Cattle producers can also protect their pasture and hayland from lack of rainfall with Pasture Rangeland Forage, or PRF insurance. This is a very affordable way to help producers in times of below average rainfall. Call the Risk Management Specialist, Martinson Ag Risk Management.
We grow corn and soybeans in Cass County, Red River Valley, North Dakota. We use AgweekTV nanotechnology to help us get both for better weed kill and to get nutrients into the plant. I definitely see it in plants, in tissue tests, and at first it was really just in the visual response of the plant where you would spray herbicide with one of the products for the iron chlorosis, and you'd have green up within a day or two, which I thought was really amazing. And when you take yellow plants to green And when you see you had a deficiency you took care of and can use it in the same place, same field the next year we have deficiencies and you don't see it anymore, definitely doing something. We see it in the tissue test that it's keeping the levels up where we want them or bringing them up to where the range we want to be.
The National Agricultural Genotyping Center is conducting a statewide sampling survey for herbicide resistance in Palmer amaranth, water hemp, and kochia. The goal of this survey is to determine where and what herbicide-resistant traits are found in North Dakota. Collection kits consist of 4 envelopes, 3 envelopes for Palmer amaranth and water hemp from pigweed, and 1 envelope for a suspected herbicide-resistant kochia plant. For more information about the survey and where to pick up your collection kit, please contact your local North Dakota County Extension agent.
Getting down to business on the farm means hitting the office early, making sure your team's ready to go, getting updates from the field, and talking with your management team. At Bremer Bank, we understand the business of farming and how to protect and grow your operation, so you can be sure your present and your future are in good hands.
People came to this week's You Pick Flower event at Flourish Flower Farm in Elk Point, South Dakota. However, they didn't all drive there. Some visitors arrived from the sky.
Several planes lined the runway at Flourish Flower for their You Pick the Flower event. Travis and Lisa Meyer flew in from Wayne, Nebraska to pick flowers.
People that have planes want to fly. They want to go out and see things and do things, and having an event like this at such a great location and facility, this is wonderful.
It's just a really unique component to the flower farm, the fact that we can open that up and let people fly in here. And my husband is a pilot, and so he really enjoys that part of the flower farm, that he can do that.
The grass runway brings diversification to the farm.
I think it's really important to be diversified so that you're not counting on just one type of customer. The fact that we do have the grass runway here, I mean, it's extremely specialized, and it's not something that just anybody could do.
Meyer encourages other pilots to check out the farm.
Come out, stop by. It's not that far really from anywhere. T, South Dakota is a very busy airport. We're just south of there, not very far. In a flight, it's 15, 20-minute flight. Come on down, check them out, and it'd be well worth your trip.
If you are interested in flying into a You Pick event, reach out to Flourish Farm and they will give you the coordinates. Stories you'll only see on AgWeek.com and in AgWeek magazine this week. A local foods movement grows in Little Falls, Minnesota, and Graham Farm has reached a fundraising milestone. We appreciate you watching AgWeek TV. Remember to check us out daily on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to keep up on all your ag news. Have a wonderful week, everyone.